Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Media Buff Guys, the podcast about anything and everything media related. I'm your host, Ed. For today's episode, Lane and Matt will not be joining us. They're taking a much needed break after having reviewed the entire second season of House of the Dragon. If you haven't seen those episodes, listened to those episodes, go check them out. They were a lot of fun to record and there's a lot of in-depth talk about them. So check them out. For this episode, my lovely wife Jen is joining me. Babe, said hey,
Hello.
and we're gonna be talking about the most recently released film Twisters, which came out on July 8th of this year, and kind of how it pairs. It compares to the original 1996 film Twister, which technically this one is a sequel to that one. So we're gonna do a quick breakdown of the first film. I want to keep saying original film, but it's not. It's the first film because this new one is the sequel. But before we do that, quick word from our affiliate, Maono. Maono is one of the leading companies in budget-friendly mics. They sell in over 150 countries with pretty good prices for surprisingly well-sounding microphones. So if you're looking to get some pretty decent mics for a surprisingly affordable price, check them out. If you use code word MediaBuff, you can get an additional 10% off your first purchase. So with that being said, Jen, why don't you kind of do a quick synopsis of the 1996 film, which starred the late Bill Paxton and the lovely Helen Hunt?
Well, this is about storm chasers that live in Oklahoma because, as y'all know, a lot of tornadoes happen there.
It's Tornado Country.
Yeah, it is. And so what happens is that at the beginning of the movie, you see Joe as a little girl. She's about, I want to say, 6, 7 years old.
Yeah, she's the one played by Helen Hunt.
Yes.
Joe Harding, by the
Yeah,
way.
her name is Joe Harding. And what happens there is that, long story short, like there's an F5 that, yeah, an F5 tornado that touches down where she lives, and they go into the storm cellar. And Joe's father sees that the handle of the door is trying to come unlocked, so he holds on, tries to hold on to the door, and so to make it safer for them, so they don't go flying off. But what happens is that the door, he couldn't hold it up for a very long time because tornado is very, very strong. So what happens is it took the door with her dad, and so that's how her dad died. And F5 killed her dad. And ever since then, she's been like traumatized. She was traumatized by it, seeing her dad getting taken by the tornado. Um, Along with this, it causes her to become a storm chaser, along with Bill and other team members. She forms this group, and they try to study the tornado. They try to get measurements from inside the tornado to find a way to get something inside of there, so it gives them, and they can design an advanced warning system so it can help people get to safety.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what the movie's about.
Yeah, basically the premise of the film, they design a device that can release thousands of sensors into the tornado, which in turn will give them readouts of wind speed, size, height, even, where the tornado could be moving, which in turn will help them design advanced warning systems so people can get to safety much faster without having to, well, I don't know, wait till the tornado's on top of them
Mm-hmm.
and pretty much wrecks everything and kills everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the film actually just starts with Bill Paxton showing up because I guess him and Helen Hunt's character are divorced. So he's trying to serve her with some divorce papers, which she's kind of like writes off. And he kind of gets enthralled and gets sucked back in, and they decide to go chasing tornadoes together. All in the process, basically craziness ensues. They're competing against it with a rival team who's led by Jonas Miller, who was also played by
Carrie Ellis.
Carrie Ellis. If you don't know who
Mm-hmm.
that is, he's the gentleman from the Princess Bride movie, which was pretty good, and a couple other films here and there.
Mm-hmm.
He's the As You Wish guy. Anyways, the entire film basically they're just chasing this storm, and as it progresses, you kind of see Joe and Bill kind of their romance rekindling. Ultimately, his fiance, what was her name? Man? Melinda? No, that's a
Melissa.
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 Melissa, who's played by I forgot her
Jamie
name.
Gertz.
Yeah, Jerry Gertz,
Jamie Gertz.
Jamie Gertz, and basically she realizes this and decides to leave.
Hmm.
And at the end of the film, they're able to finally launch Dorothy into the tornado, and they get all this tons of data, and they finally, Bill and Joe finally rekindle their romance, and the film ends like that. It's a great film, folks. It has a very star-studded cast. Philip Seymour Hoffman was in there. The guy who played Ferris Bueller's friend, I forget his name,
I don't
was in
even
there.
know if you guys, we don't know their names, but there was also the Got Milk guy in there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
If you
And
ever seen those commercials in the 90s.
yeah, it was also directed by Jan de Bort, who did such crazy, interesting films, Speed, The Haunting, Equilibrium,
Minority Report.
Minority Report.
The Lara
So
Croft.
the Lara Croft films, and it was
Uh-huh.
written by Michael Crichton, or I
Hmm.
forget how you,
Crichton.
yeah,
Crichton. Something
Crichton,
like
who
this.
also wrote Jurassic Park.
Yep.
Yeah, so definitely check out that film, folks. That's definitely worth a watch. I wish I could say the same thing about Twisters, but this
Here we
review is
go.
kind of gonna be a warning against that because even though we didn't pay to go see it, we were able to go see it for free. I would not encourage anybody to go pay to see this film. Not because it was bad, but because it just wasn't, it's not worth having to pay to go see it.
Hmm.
And Jen can kind of tell you why. But before she does, I'll do a quick synopsis of it. In this one, we follow the
Yeah.
main character Kate Carter,
Hmm.
who's played by Daisy Edgar Jones. She works in Oklahoma as a storm chaser. Her and a couple of her friends, Javi, Addie, Praveen, and her boyfriend at the time, Jeb, they decide, they're going storm chasing. Javi is played by Anthony Ramos. If you don't know who he is, he was most recently in the new Transformers Beast Wars Prime movie. I forgot what it's called, but he was in that. And basically, they're doing the same thing. They're storm chasing, but there's two things going on. Javi wants to use a Dorothy a device that somehow he got his hands on. And Kate wants to use these chemical beads um, composed of sodium pyrocrylate to dissipate the tornado. So Javi wants to study the tornado, and Kate wants to find a way to dissipate it. Because if you can dissipate it, it's not going to cause any damage, and people won't have to worry about it, or you don't even have to try to run away from it. But Javi's idea is just to study it so they can come up with warning signs on how to help people get away before the tornado comes. And that is one of the main issues that we had
Yeah.
when we watched this film because it kind of not retcons, but it kind of
Negates.
scrubs
Yeah.
everything they were doing in the 1996 film, which was find a way to design a method to get better warning systems.
Yeah, I
But
know.
now it's different. They're trying to do the exact same thing, even though somebody technically already did that before.
Yeah.
Anyways, it doesn't go well. They're able to release the beads from the Dorothy device, and they're able to release the chemical beads that Kate hopes will dissipate the tornado. By the way, sodium polyacrylate is the same stuff they have in diapers,
Hmm.
so it absorbs moisture. So that was her premise why she wanted to use that. But it doesn't work, and for some reason they get chased by an EF5 tornado. If you don't know much about the term of, it's called the Fujita scale. In the
Hmm.
'96 film, it was just a Fujita scale, and it was you mark them as F5 or F1 through F5.
Yes.
But now, ever since 2007, I guess tornadoes have gotten worse, so now they call it the enhanced Fujita scale.
Hmm.
So this one was an E5, one of the worst ones that you can see. There was actually a turn point in the '96 film. Jen, what was it called? The F5. What did they
Oh,
call
they
it?
call it the finger of God.
Yeah, because basically, he scrapes his finger across the land, just causing devastation.
Yeah, for like where like how much it eats or so destroys.
Yeah, the Fujita scale is basically how you determine how much destruction the tornado can cause as
Mhm.
it come going across its path,
Mhm.
basically. Basically, they get caught in the F an EF5. Unfortunately, Addie, Praveen, and Jeb are all killed by the tornado. They try to take shelter on their overpass, which I guess is a bad thing. Which is another issue we had because if you saw the first one, in the first 30 minutes of the film, they're get Joe
Bill.
and Bill are getting chased by a tornado, and they decide to take shelter also under an overpass.
Mm.
It's like a bridge basically.
It wasn't
Um,
even that
and this was even it wasn't even a big
flimsy.
bridge. It was a wooden bridge, and
Yes.
they were able to find shelter under there. Granted, it wasn't in an F5 or
Yeah,
EF5,
it was different.
but I
Yeah.
mean, still though, that's kind of one issue we had there. Anyways, Kate survives, and 5 years pass by, and you see her working now at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, and she gets a call from her friend Javi, who tells him like, "Hey, we're trying to find another way to scan tornadoes, which will help us come up with better warning systems." Another call back to the '96 one, which they're retconning because Dorothy was supposed to do that. So why they're doing this when they technically already had that, I don't know. Maybe because they're enhanced Vegeta scales now. Either
Yeah.
way, that's one of the other main issues we had with this film. They're kind of just taking what happened or what they were trying to accomplish in the first one, and they're just wiping it away, basically saying that, oh,
Mhm.
we need better warning times with, and
Mhm.
this new phased array is what Javi was calling it.
Yes.
Phased array radar will help us do that.
Which is designed by the military.
Yeah, designed by the military, and Javi, was able to convince Kate to go back to Oklahoma,
Mhm.
by basically showing her what damage was coming up. And I guess it was during the time that there was a lot of tornadoes popping up.
Mhm.
So he was able to convince her to go
To get
there
out there.
to help him chase down these tornadoes and scan them with these radars. Basically, the premise of it, they had to get these three radars around the tornado in three parts
Mhm.
so they can scan it properly.
Okay.
Um, it's a whole thing, but
Yes.
basically that way they can do a 3D scan of the whole thing without, I guess, tossing anything in there because I guess the beads weren't working. The bead scanners weren't working. So Kate makes it to Oklahoma. They start trying to track down tornadoes, and this is where we meet Glenn Powell's character, Tyler, who is a YouTuber and I guess also a storm chaser called the Tornado Wrangler. He was coming from Arkansas, and he's capitalizing on all these predictive tornado outbreaks, which I don't understand how you can predict when tornadoes are gonna outbreak, but you're not able to predict when they're gonna touch down. That just doesn't make sense to me, but I digress. Either way, the rest of the film just basically you're following Javi, Kate, and Tyler
Mhm.
trying to track down these tornadoes and scan them. The entire time, there's a sinister plot afoot.
Mhm. Oh
I
yeah.
guess Javi works for some guy named Riggs, who is using the destruction of these tornadoes to buy up the land. Why?
Marshall Riggs.
Yeah, Marshall Riggs. Why? It's never really explained because why would a land developer buy land in a state where tornadoes frequently happen? But I mean, the entire time I'm like, it's that's a very dumb and bad um what's it called, real estate move on my part.
Mhm.
And the entire time, freaking Tyler's character is just like showing off, being a badass, and One thing Jen and I were kind of talking about the film is they had an interesting story they could have used in there, and we'll go into a little bit, but they decided not to go with that, even though they showed one scene where it looked like it was working, and they decided to just go with the original plan of Kate to try to find a way to dissipate the tornado with the poly, oh my God, polyacrylate beads. Anyways, at the end of the film, Kate is able to somehow dissipate a big EF5 tornado with that, and basically Javi decides to abandon his goal to help Riggs, and he decides to help Kate basically, you know, pull off her plan. Tyler, now infatuated with her, at the end of the film, they basically he basically tells her how he feels about her, and I guess they become a couple. But either way, the
Hmm.
film was not that good. And Jen, want kind of explain how this film just doesn't really hold up against the first one, because this is technically a sequel, by the way.
Where to begin? Well, for one, the writing on this, I don't even know what to say about it. It was not good. Like, uh, in the other one, at least the characters had some depth, and oh my god, it's just so bad. I couldn't really like. I tried to like watch it all the way. I mean, there were some good moments. I'm not gonna lie, there was some good moments. Not everything was bad, but I mean, it's just the first one had a really good score, soundtrack, the acting, even though at times the lines were cheesy.
Yeah, but there was a good kind of cheesy.
Yeah, it was. Well, then it was that '90s,
Yeah, the
cheesy.
90s action cheesy, summer cheesiness.
But dude, this story was all over the place. You have Kate trying to find, how to dissipate the tornado and more efficiently, because
Hmm.
she found out that what she was using wasn't working properly. And then, but then you have this other plot of,
Tyler.
yeah, of no, of Javi trying to get like buy people's land when it's all, in destruction for this guy named Riggs.
Yeah.
But it doesn't even go anywhere. Like it doesn't explain why they need this land, why that, none of
Yeah,
that. There's no explanation.
there's no explanation. And
And also, like, I mean, and then the whole Tyler thing, about him being a famous YouTuber. But the good thing that I did like about that, though, was that we actually saw a method that he used that actually worked to dissipate like a tornado, which
yeah,
was going into they would go into the tornado. He would anchor himself down because
yeah, his truck.
yeah, his truck had a like anchors built into it. They can drill into the ground, like basically like little drills or something,
Yeah.
and it would hold it in place. And he would shoot, what was it, fireworks at it?
Yeah, so basically he would shoot. Oh, so Tyler had this like behemoth of a truck. It was a freaking Ram. By the way, in the '96 one, Bill also had a
Yeah.
Ram. These films were all good marketing for that
Yes.
truck. Like I wanted that truck when I had seen that
My
first
dad
film.
said, "Hey, look, I need to get that truck.
Hell
Nothing
yeah!
happens to it. It
Nothing
survives
happens to it.
tornado.
Yeah.
It survives tornadoes."
But yeah, like this is actually what I was talking about. That there was a story within the story that probably would have been better if they'd gone with this one, and that's
Yes.
Tyler. And I don't know if he was just showing off in the film, or if it was a genuine method of him dissipating the tornado. So his method, like Jen said, he drives into the tornado with his truck, anchors it down because he's got like some pneumatic drills, and then shoots flares straight up into the tornado.
Hmm.
Now, if you know anything of the law of conservation, if you disrupt the flow of energy of anything, it can dissipate, and that's basically what he does in the film. In the beginning of the film, you see him driving into into the tornado, shooting off the flares, and then the tornado dissipates. Now, had they gone with that story, that's a whole nother thing. Now, granted, they kind
Yes.
of combine Kate's idea with his idea
Yes.
because he
Shoot
tells
up
Kate,
the
"Hey,
force.
so you put these beads that absorb moisture, but guess what? There's not that much moisture in a tornado. A lot of people don't know this, but there's not a lot of moisture in there
Hmm.
because it's wind. It's blowing really fast. It's not. There's hardly any water in there.
Hmm.
Any water there is getting shot out because of the
Hmm.
speed of the wind." And his idea was like, Why don't we make it rain in the tornado, causing the moisture to go up, and then you shoot your beads up, which will absorb the tornado and probably dissipate the tornado, which works for some reason. Um, he basically that's how they get Kate's idea to work. But again, too many stories going on in this, too many subplots. That's part of the
Yes.
reason we didn't really like it compared to the 96 version.
Yes.
Um, and on top of that, I gotta say, some of the characters just didn't really stick with me.
No.
Like Javi, I felt like he was only there because he's the only one that survives the EF5 tornado, and honestly, the only reason he survived that one is because
Hang back.
he hung back as
Hmm.
they were launching Dorothy, and he was scanning the readings of it.
Yes.
And Tyler's character, even though he was cool, he was a good character. Um, what's his name's acting was just not enough.
Glen Powell.
Glenn Powell's acting was just not enough to really drive the story home.
Hmm.
And I gotta say, I didn't like Kate's character. Uh, they were really trying to shoehorn her as
Helen's.
Joe's character,
Yes.
Helen Hunt's character. They even had her wearing similar clothes like her.
Yeah. And the hair was also the same. It
Yeah,
was
they had her
blonde.
hair, it's kind of blonde,
Yeah.
and even her mannerisms were similar to
But
her.
here's the kicker. Here's the kicker. They kind of made her look like Joe Harding, but hey, she had Bill's ability of knowing about when the storm was gonna come and everything because that's what Bill Paxton's character did in the movie.
Yeah, he was able to kind of predict the tornadoes
Yeah.
and even predict their paths,
Yes.
and they gave that to Kate, but they also kind of gave it to Tyler, which kind of
Mhm.
made me think like, it's like, so who's got the fancy ability and who's just here for show?
Yeah.
Like, I thought Tyler was the one, but I guess he
Well,
also.
Tyler was actually, if you see it, he was kind of like Helen Hunt in the fact that he was studied.
Hmm.
He went to school and he studied about tornadoes, about all this stuff.
Hmm.
So he was more about the information and all that stuff,
Well, Kate studied too.
I know, but he was more about that, and over here, Kate was more about like the Bill Paxton character, like
Hmm.
Bill's character. About like they called him a human barometer. That's pretty much what they try to make her be too.
Yeah, I know, but they also missed one wonderful opportunity to make Kate Bill's and Joe's daughter,
That's
because
what I was.
even just the way they made her character look,
Yes.
your first initial thought, this is probably their kid.
Mhm.
And the fact that she has that barometer skill
Mhm.
made me think like maybe she inherited that from her father.
Mhm.
But no, her mother turns out to be her mother just turns out to be Mara
Tierney.
Tierney. I can't pronounce her name. If you don't know who she is, watch Liar Liar. That's Jim Carrey's
Yeah.
ex-wife in that one. She's
Yes.
very funny. I
Yeah.
like her.
She's.
But I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but this film just tried to do too much,
Mhm.
and they were just riding the coattails of the nostalgia train that is Twister.
Mhm.
And that's part of the reason I don't think people should go watch it. Not because it's bad, but maybe wait for it to come out and stream, which is coming out soon apparently. If you go online, and
Mhm.
it's, I felt if they had focused on Tyler's story, like his plan to blow up the tornado from the inside, I feel like that would have worked better.
Mhm.
But that's my take on it. Like Jen, I mean, like tell the people why, like what are the reasons you kind of just don't think it held up against not the original, but the first one, because it's technically a sequel.
It just looks like it was thrown together.
Yeah, right.
And then to add insult to injury, I know that Paxton's son was in this, and he only got he did a cameo, and it was just to give pay homage to his dad. But I mean, they could have done it better
Yeah, it
than
was a
that.
terrible cameo, by the way. So in the film, in
He,
one of the
yeah,
scenes, for whatever reason, there's a rodeo going on,
yes.
which is dumb. I don't know why would do that during tornado season.
Well, that's what they do in Oklahoma, man.
During tornado season, anyways. So the tornado hits, like hello, and they decide to take refuge or try to take refuge in a motel. And Bill Paxton's son is in that scene. What's his name, man?
I don't know what his
James
name.
Paxton.
Yeah,
No,
James. Oh, then
James
so, yeah,
Paxton,
his name is
and
James
he's
Paxton.
this
Yes.
annoying individual, just like demanding to get a room. You know, there's an alarm blaring that there's a tornado coming, and
Mhm.
his dumb girlfriend saying like 9 out of 10 times the warnings aren't even real, and then the tornado hits and kills them both.
Yes.
Like, if you're gonna have the late Bill Paxton's son in this film, give him a better role. We thought he was Javi's assistant because
Yes.
there's an actor in the film who plays this assistant, and he was kind of
Who does the
annoying.
research
He does the research. He
and
was kind of annoying, and even that one, I was like,
for
man, is that
Riggs?
if that's Bill Paxton's kid, they give him a bad role. But then it turns out he's this annoying little turd in the film that's only there like 5 minutes and gets
Yeah.
killed. Oh man.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, folks. It's just like some movies just shouldn't be remade. And this also plays into the whole topic we've had a couple of times of just leaving certain films alone.
Mhm.
Like, don't make sequels to them. Don't reboot them. Just leave them alone. They're good enough as it is.
It's pretty much what happened to Speed. I
Yeah.
mean,
Speed did not need a sequel.
oh,
And we don't
there's
need
some that
another.
don't
Also,
need
we
it.
don't need another Crow.
No, we don't. I mean, I don't even want to get into that
But
one.
I digress.
Yeah.
Again, the film wasn't horrible. I give it a solid 5. It had a good premise. Had they retooled it, it
Mhm.
would have been good. And had they made Kate, Joe's, and Bill's daughter,
Mhm.
that would have been the icing on the cake. That would have
Mhm.
been perfect.
Mhm.
Because there's the scene where you see Kate talking to her mom. She shows up at her mom's house, and you see a silhouette of her mom.
Yes.
Our initial thought was, oh, it's Helen Hunt.
Mhm.
We're gonna get to see her play her mom. Nope. It's Jim Carrey's wife from Liar Liar. I can't
Mhm.
pronounce her name, folks. I'm sorry.
Yes.
But just to reiterate, not the best film, even though it did pretty well from its 155 budget, it did 311. So it's not the worst film to come out of Hollywood recently. But at the end of the day, just just wait till it comes out on stream if you plan on watching it. And just to get back to our point at hand of, taking older films and making sequels or reboots, just don't. Or if you do, maybe bring in some of the fans in on it. This is one of Jen's favorite films, by the way.
It is.
So, and she was actually excited to see it because she
Mhm.
thought, like, oh, maybe they are gonna do an homage. Maybe we're gonna see her as Bill
Mhm.
and Joe's daughter. Nope,
No.
they decided to.
I mean, come on, the story is there. If you had made her that Bill and Joe, then you could have gone with the story. Okay, now that they have this advanced warning system, that doesn't negate all the work her parents did. Now you can see, hey, now we're try to dissipate the tornado,
Yeah,
and
because the
try to,
first tornado was
yeah,
about scanning the tornado and
and
learning about it,
yeah,
and this one you could have been like, let's learn how to dissipate the tornado, like shut it down or
again,
at least weaken it.
and again, the motive would be to help people so they don't have to leave their homes, they don't have to, see all that destruction, all of their hard work and ruins, all their land get destroyed. And that would have been a perfect plot. Like,
Exactly. See, this is why you should let fans write the stories. Like, and I gotta say too, the guy they picked to direct this film, not a good idea. Lee Isaac Chung. If you don't know who he is, the only thing I know that he's worked on, and that was actually a good job, was an episode of The Mandalorian, chapter 19, the covert or the
the
covet,
convert, the
the
convert.
convert. Other than that, he's done like a couple of films here and there, something called Lucky Life and Minari. I don't even know what those are.
Hmm.
But they could have probably gotten a better director for this.
Hmm.
Either way, folks, that's our take on it. Watch it at your own risk.
Yeah.
Don't pay to watch it, please.
Oh, yeah. And if you still haven't seen, like I know there's people out there still haven't seen the first one, I really recommend you watch the first one. And then if you feel like you need to watch the second one, then watch it and but you will see the big difference.
Oh yeah, it
It
still
had,
holds up.
yes, it still holds up to this day. I mean, it has great scenery, great the score, the soundtrack, the act, I mean the star-studded cast, the characters,
Even the dialogue, like
even the dialogue, even if it was cheesy at times, it was still really well done.
oh,
Michael Crichton really.
Yeah, he
nailed
did a
down.
solid work on that one. So, um, yeah, watch the first one and then watch the second one and compare them for yourselves.
Yeah, don't take our word for it. If
Yeah,
you
check
really
them
want,
out. You can actually watch Twisters on Twister on YouTube. It's free to watch there. It's streaming on a couple other platforms, but if you don't have, Netflix, HBO, or whatever, you can actually watch it for free on YouTube. I'll even leave a link in the description to it on my YouTube. So you want to check it out, check it out. As far as Twisters go, wait till it comes out on streaming and check it out. Maybe watch the first one and then watch the second one so you can prepare for yourself. Have a couple of drinks, so you can see just the potential they had that was squandered,
yes,
and maybe you'll get on board with us when we say like stop making older films
yes.
reboots or continuations.
At this point, it's like you're killing the nostalgia behind.
Not just that, you're kind of almost ruining people's careers because Glenn Powell will be fine.
Yes. Oh
He's
yeah.
fine. He's a very handsome guy. He's gonna get work no matter what. But everybody else, I mean, Ramos, I mean, his career might be in danger. Daisy Edgar Jones, I don't know anything. I don't know her from anything else. So if this was her breakout role, it's not a very good one.
No, it wasn't. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just she's really trying to be, I guess, Helen Hunt mixed in there with Bill, and it just it's
Which again, they could have just had her be their daughter.
yes,
Like,
it would have made a lot more sense for me.
was Helen Hunt too expensive?
Maybe.
Ugh.
But that's Hollywood, folks. That's what
Yeah.
they always do. They have they always know notorious for having they have the potential right there of making a good story, and then somehow it gets squandered along the way.
Yeah, because they're just not good at making
No,
movies.
I just don't understand. I mean, they have good writers. I don't understand what is happening.
Oh, I don't know about that anymore, but that's a
Uh,
topic for another
yeah,
story,
that's true.
for another episode. In any case, thanks for tuning in, folks. I'm glad we were able to keep it a little short this time around.
Mm-hmm.
And let us know in the comments if you're watching on my YouTube. Let us know if you've seen the film, what you thought about it. If you've seen the '96 one, what you thought about it. Um, I mean, if you were one of the few that you liked it, good for you. You're wrong. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I mean, if it was your
If
cup
it
of
tickled your
tea,
fancy, it's fine. Like
uh,
we keep saying, it wasn't horrible.
no, it wasn't.
It wasn't the
But
worst.
it's just the story was all over the place.
It
There were
just could
so
have been
many
better. Yeah,
stories that were just
it
like,
had the
what,
potential to be so much better, and they Hollywooded up.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, but again, thanks for tuning in, folks. And we'll see you on the next time.
Bye.